Here's my list of the greatest 1980s action movies. It was a decade of roided up men, maybe not, but big muscled men doing big explosive stunt making in big, sometimes, well, no, almost always ridiculous, cheesy action movies. These are my favorite 20. These are the ones I could go to again and again, I think. This is a peculiar list, my own particular taste. You're not going to like much of it, maybe. You might like some of it, but you can definitely get recommendations from it. Feel free to make your own list in the comments. Feel free to just, figure out what you like, but realize this is what I like. And it doesn't have some of the most famous action movies from this time period. In fact, a couple of them I'm going to leave off, just mention real quickly. Police Story by Jackie Chan, which has amazing action sequences. I just think the movie is ridiculously cheesy in its storyline, but you got to watch it for the action sequences. And then Terminator, which is a classic movie in the mythos of American, maybe global culture. Really helps, launch Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, partly launched it at least. And it has several classic moments in it that are unforgettable. I'm just not as big of a fan as it is of everybody else, so I'm leaving it off my top 20 list. Let's start with number 20. It's going to be Escape from New York. Well, what's this list going to be without John Carpenter? I think Kurt Russell is an awesome looking action hero. I love his look, especially when he's got a mustache or he's bearded with an eye patch, something like that. I think the scenario in this movie is fantastic. Maybe the plot's not so great, some of the dialogue, but I love the scenario as a science fictional sort of almost implausible scenario, but it's fascinating to watch, and it has that sort of gloomy, gritty New York City feel to it, as a number of movies did in this time period. Number 19, this is going to be controversial. People don't like this movie on my channel that much. I put a video out about it, but Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. Same scenario. I really like the world and universe created here between, the world of Thunderdome with Tina Turner and then the kids who are abandoned and have made their own society elsewhere across the desert. Mel Gibson, of course, is going to be featured in this list a little bit, or he could at least be in your list too. I think this is a classic movie of at least the world building, the relationship to Fallout video games, and so on. Number 18, I think, I don't love this list as I look at it. I like the top 10 or 15, but this one, I love the action in it, and to think about how they made this film is crazy to me. One of the craziest movies maybe yet made, The Abyss by James Cameron.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
What?
Grab on to something!
This one has some great set pieces in it. I think, there's aliens in it, which maybe are over the top. But I'm not going to criticize anything. We're going to see James Cameron later on. Number 17 is a movie that could be really in the top 3. I just don't know as much about it because I've had a hard time procuring a good-looking copy of it. It's John Woo's The Killer.
呢場波你輸緊，係咩？睇下邊個輸，次次臨門一腳，你都係撻 Q 喎。你錯啦。
A lot of people love this movie. I just haven't seen anything better than 720p, like a terrible DVD version. If there's a crisp, restored version of it, I might just, rocket up this list. It is a really fascinating movie to watch in about 15 ways, so it definitely deserves to be on this list, even though I may not have seen it in the best possible way. Number 16 is a movie I've come to love a little bit more and more as I've watched it and kind of thought about it. Oh, it seems so cheesy, too, because these Dungeons and Dragons sort of sword and sorcery tales are all over the place, and at least in the early 80s. This one's Conan the Barbarian.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women.
Another Arnold movie. We're going to keep going with those, but this one's thoughtful, at least, based on, the Robert Howard short stories or the stories of Conan from the early 20th century. I think this one has a little bit more meat on the bone. There's some ham and cheese here, as there definitely is in the ridiculous sequels to this, but I think this is a thoughtful movie in a lot of ways. Oh, I guess we're going to go with Arnold again, number 15. Now, this is the cheesiest postmodern action movie ever. It seems so self-aware of itself, and yet it is its own thing. It's like a video game. It is the movie Commando from the mid-1980s. Here, Arnold's a man on a mission, kind of like Stallone will be in another movie I'll mention. He's got to go rescue a girl. This is sort of vigilante tale. It's beyond absurd. It plays really well on a treadmill, as I've experienced, gets the heart pumping, and I think is a statement. This is the one I'd pick as a statement of what absolute action cheese in the 1980s and maybe later was all about. Number 14 is not a movie a lot of people would put on the list. Because I like Sean Connery, I like the scenario, the science fiction scenario, I'm going to put Outland here from the early 1980s. This is basically High Noon in space. Actually, I think it's a little bit more than that. And it's a lot of showdowny stuff with lasers and zero gravity. But Sean Connery is really fun in this. I think this is a good movie. Better than what I think other people say. So I strongly recommend it if you like any movie on this list and a little science fiction with your action movies. Number 13 is a classic. The debate on is whether it's a Christmas movie or not. I don't mind if it is. I think this movie has a lot to it. And again, it's like The Terminator has a lot of classic lines and classic scenes. Die Hard.
You won't hurt me,
Oh, yeah? Why not?
because you're a policeman. There are rules for policemen.
Yeah. That's what my captain keeps telling me.
Bruce Willis, outstanding action movie hero. I love him in a lot of things as a sort of, courageous but smaller guy type. Now here he's sort of rescuing an entire skyscraper from German terrorists. This one's a lot of fun. I may not be in love with some things about it, but this one's held up over time ever since it came out, and I saw it first whenever I saw it, probably on TV in the late 80s. I think this one you could rewatch and model modern action movies on. Number 12 is from the wild, sarcastic, satirical filmmaker Paul Verhoeven. This is RoboCop.
Where is Clarence Boddicker?
Another classic-looking movie, which has so many profound themes in it, and yet it's full of ham and cheese, hammy acting, cheesy stuff. Never sure what to do with Verhoeven's style aesthetic, what he's doing with his material, but, this one's obviously a classic of a man turning into a cyborg police officer, or is it all machine? This one's definitely a riff on the Terminator, and we're checking out, thinking about it from that point of view. Number 11, I should probably vault this into the top 10. This is the movie First Blood, which is basically the first Rambo movie with Sylvester Stallone.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. In town, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe.
This one, of course, started a ridiculous, very cheesy franchise, but the first one is thoughtful, based on a David Morrell book about an ex-Vietnam vet coming home to America and not being accepted in America, and he's harassed by a local police officer played by Brian Dennehy. This movie really doesn't come down, as I watch it more and more, on any particular side. At first, I always thought it was about Rambo and like how he's the vaunted hero, but I don't think so necessarily. It's a good survivalist movie. This one has a fascinating production history, and I think Stallone was the perfect choice for this in something more than just a muscled man role. Number 10, they used to advertise this on TV when it was played on TV as the mother of all action movies. No kidding. I don't think that's true. It makes sense because it's from 1983, but George Lucas's third Star Wars movie, Return of the Jedi. Arguably, this is one big coda of the first two Star Wars movies. This is, resolving plot problems. Let's get Han Solo unfrozen. Let's defeat the Empire. but the action sequences are fantastic in this and still hold up very well, despite some of the CGI retooling that Lucas did. But nevertheless, at the end of this movie, you're intercutting 3 action scenes, and it's a glorious sort of ending to this space melodrama that is the first Star Wars trilogy. Number 9 is a movie I struggled with as a critic, but I've always loved as a guy, as a kid, as a teenager, as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old, now as a 40-year-old. And I think as a critic, my heart is with this somewhat, despite its ridiculous testosterone and maybe steroid influence. It is Predator.
Wash.
Predator, like RoboCop, shows the point of view of a hunter, but here it's the aliens hunting the toughest, baddest guys in the world, you know, the elite forces of the U.S. military. And Arnold is essentially fighting an alien at the end of this movie in a big silent movie climax. The last third of the movie may have 2 lines of dialogue, and that's it. So it's really fascinating to watch it from that perspective as a sight and sound, you know, exercise that is like something out of the 1920s, weirdly enough. Number 8, not my favorite, but the favorite of pretty much everybody else. It's the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. No matter what I can say about Spielberg, at least his composition, his framing, his film grammar, his setup, his, you know, humor, it's all great. And so I like this first Raiders movie just as a entertainment romp. It's really fun, but it's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie. That one is number 7's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Junior?
This one is just maybe cheesier than anything else. It is beyond ridiculous in a number of ways, but I like the relationship stuff in it between, obviously, Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, 2 of the great action movie actors ever. And here they are paired as a father-son team with a lot of humor. It's a lot of fun. Is it more than an entertainment romp? I don't know. It's ridiculous in every single way, but I can't say that enough. And yet it is memorable. I'll never forget, as a professor, thinking about the opening scenes of this where Indiana Jones is escaping out the window as his students hoard him to try to get him to grade things. Number 6 is arguably not an action movie, although I think it has enough in it to qualify here. Another John Carpenter movie, it's The Thing. I've covered this movie pretty well on my channel, so go check out my video on it. I'll just say this movie is a good adaptation of a short story and an interesting, not remake, but rehashing of an earlier film. So in the way that it's sort of interconnecting with earlier written text and movies, I think this one is really, really interesting. And Kurt Russell, once again. Number 5, I think this qualifies here too. This one has a little bit more humanism, a little bit more complexity to it than pretty much anything on this list. Robert De Niro shows up here in this list, and Charles Grodin, Midnight Run.
There goes $100,000.
This one has a sweet ending. I think it's a really fun buddy road trip story. It's got some action in it, so I think it qualifies. If you're looking for something that has some characterization and depth in terms of its humanistic aspects of its characters, this is probably the one for you on this list. All right, we're down to the top 4. These are interchangeable, sort of, but I don't think they can be questioned as being in a top 10 list. At least most people probably would have them in a top 20 list. I don't see how they couldn't. Number 4 is The Road Warrior, the second Mad Max movie. This one's been copied, imitated 1,000 or 100 million times. The absolute awesome chase sequences in this are spectacular. Mel Gibson is a silent hero, comes into his own here. This one is leaps and bounds, in my opinion, better than the first Mad Max. It has inspired a number of post-apocalyptic fare, but the chase scenes, Chef's Kiss, outstanding. They still hold up here. Number 3 is a war movie, which we hadn't have too many sort of realistic war movie tales. This one's a hard one because it's about Germans and it's featuring them, Das Boot.
Für mich gibt's nichts Schöneres als ein U-Boot. Und Segelschiffe. Es gibt keine schöneren Linien als die von Segelschiffen.
A submarine thriller. I love these kinds of movies. This one harkens back to some of those in the 50s and some that would come after, kind of imitated this one. Claustrophobic movie, long one about Germans who are Nazis who are forced to be, fighting World War II, and here they are. And so this one with the sub action is fantastic. You get later sub movies like Crimson Tide coming out of this one. I think this one is really well done. Like Midnight Run, depth of characterization, pretty good here. Top 2, unassailable for me, and I could switch either one of these because I love them, and I always have, ever since I first saw them as a kid of the 80s. I don't know when I saw them. The first one I definitely saw when I was very little, like 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember when I saw the second one. Number 2, Aliens by James Cameron. Unbelievable heart-pounding action here. Hold on to your seat. Be scared. Put this on a big screen. Turn the volume way up. That's the only way it can be watched. In fact, if you watch this on a phone, it's a travesty because this movie will knock your socks off. I think it still does. It's almost 40 years old. Unbelievable. Bill Paxton, Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn. Everybody in this is great. The director's cut is the way to go. Do not watch the theatrical cut. It's okay, but the director's cut to me is a notch or 10 above the theatrical cut. I love this movie a lot. I've covered it on this channel. Number 1 I've covered. Number 1 I've watched a million times. Number 1 I've wrestled with. I don't like it sometimes for what it resulted in, all this franchise fare, but it can't go wrong. I think it's excellent. Empire Strikes Back.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
This movie flies around all over the place. Fast-paced action as, the first movie in the 80s. Obviously inspired by its predecessor, but going leaps and bounds further than it. I think I would argue this is what inspires Marvel movies, sad to say, and a bunch of other humongous blockbustery types of things. Check out my video on this, but I can't get over how much fun this movie is. Between Harrison Ford, Yoda's introduction, the banter with C-3PO, the ridiculous asteroid sequence, which isn't realistic, but okay, it's very fun. I mean, there's all kinds of things thrown at you. Boba Fett is involved in this. So people love this movie. Still, I think they should. Again, another big screen movie. In fact, pretty much every movie on this was originally made as a big screen movie. You deserve to buy a giant TV or see this in a movie theater in some way, shape, or form. All these movies do, in fact, in my opinion, watch better on big screens. Now, I know I left out so many movies. I know that a lot of people like the things that I love the things that I left off. Go ahead and criticize me, fine, but this is my particular list, me being idiosyncratic in the way I watch movies. What do you like? What would you put on this list? What is your top 20? In fact, what are your hidden gems that you'd recommend? Maybe something we've missed from some other area of the world, like The Killer, for example. Go ahead and tell us in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.